and with still some amount of IP is being held in this area. And much more broader ecosystem is what we call as an innovation market, which is medical device innovations, which are new medical devices coming from unmet needs from the hospital. So I think I would emphasize a little bit on this at later part of the talk. Then in terms of products that are available, so how are these shaping, say, from an idea to proof of concept product to an alpha beta prototype, which takes it all the way from TRL 3 to 4. That is when they need validations, where clinicians have to say that, this is exactly what we want, or these are the features that we want, or these are the features that which are not desirable for us. So those part is primarily in the medical device or clinical validations. From where it goes to the regulatory affairs, where we need to comply with regulations, which is again another broad spectrum, where you might have to comply with the international regulations, the national regulations, and we'll talk a little bit about the medical device rules in the country. And then it moves to the preclinical clinical trials, where we need to use the device, take approval, use the device, collect the data, analyze the data, and find out what is the impact. So what is the impact that the device is producing? Are these aligned with the goals or the specifications of the device? So after these many phases, only the device come to what we call as a TRL 9 device with a readiness level of 9, where the device is ready for manufacture, clearing the regulations, clearing the licenses, where we are seeing that this is a manufacturer ready device. So this is the whole journey we have to look at when it comes to medical devices. So we can go one by one or part of it, some of these points. So looking at the domestic manufacture. So what we have, some of them are, as I said before, reverse engineered products. Some of them have incremental innovations, some amount of IP, some amount of freedom to operate for these devices, which secure their operations in the country. And from a regulator perspective, we basically first we have to develop the prototype. We have to reach to a stage where an alpha and beta prototype validated from the clinics, and then only we move to the regulatory space, where all of the time the device is tested against a gold standard or a predicate device, or what is the best available as a gold standard right now. So that is the best way, and that is the correct way which we follow, where the device is compared against a gold standard in the clinic. The values are at par with the gold standard or better than the gold standard. So those are the criteria that decides whether the device should cross the compliances. And that is when we say that the device is clinical trialed. Oh, I didn't see it. So, okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's where the device is clinically trialed and say that it is good to use at the bedside, where the clearances are given by the regulatory body. So that's a longer process, but we still follow a standard, very similar to the FDA or the EU regulations, where we have a gold standard to deal with. And when it comes to existing devices, we always have to look at a standard devices and look at how do we fare against that device. So when it comes to new devices, where it's an innovative device, there is no predicate device existing in the market. That is when we are really looking at an unmet need from the clinic. So where does this need come from? Is it something where there is that is being faced by the clinician, by the patient, by the nurses, or by the paramedics, and all the various aspects, various stakeholders involved in the clinic, including the patient or even the bystanders of the patient. So is that an unmet need validated across geographies, across clinic at various hospitals. So the need, I'm not talking even about the solution. So that is where the innovative medical unmet need comes from. Then we might again have to go one level. Is there a market for this device? If we are going to solve this problem, are we ensuring that the device has a market, or the adoption of the technology is smoother compared to the existing devices? So that also comes to question. So we can, I will revisit this topic a little bit later, but all of this depends on the outcomes of the need, outcomes of the solution, whether the solution is going to cater the actual unmet need of the need from the hospital. So this is one major step where we have to even vet a need or an unmet need to make sure that the unmet need exists. And if a solution is provided for that need, it is going to be adopted for practice. So then comes the regulatory pathways, where the regulator has to look at. So there would not be any gold standard present at the moment. So this is one area where India is too early to start with, but the regulatory bodies, CDSCO, ICMR, and the Bureau of Indian Standards are really looking at, can we draft specifications? Can we draft protocols for testing such a device where there is no predicate device available? So can we have protocols where an innovative device can be tested for ensuring the safety, the efficacy, and compatibility? So a lot of these steps are being evaluated, and then only the test license, a clinical test license, and a manufacturing test license is issued for the device by the CDSCO. So just a quick snapshot of the online medical device portal from CDSCO. So which is essentially a regulatory body looking at all steps of regulation. A lot of these things appeared probably in a year or less than a year. The rules are being formed, and also there are a lot of activities even now going again on drafting the standards. The Bureau of Indian Standards is looking at least 50 essential medical devices where the standards have to be drafted now. So all of these are parallelly happening. So in coming to software, so if you look at the medical device rules, the MDR came to existence in 2017. And then there were a number of updates and amendments to the bill. And later on, we started with including software as a medical device. This is again one major step where we need to look at the regulatory aspects pertaining to generic softwares to be applied to medical devices. So 62304, 304 is one of the standard which every software has to follow. So then we looked at the EU standards. I think most of the EU standards were directly applied on software as a medical device. So 60601, I think the entire series 1/1 to 1/27, everything deals with electrical safety, electrical compliance, and all of those right away got applied to software as a medical device. And quality, and the next level was the quality, QC and QMS, which does the quality management standards. And all of these looked at medical device as a software, and also put the classification of medical device as a software, or the software classification. So the same categories of A, B, C, D came to picture, where the class A is probably the low risk device, or the least harmful or least harmful low risk device. Then B and C representing the moderate risk category, and the C, D for the high risk category. So essentially, If you look at a software which looks at historic data, like analysis of the data for making decisions or prognosis of treatment, can be decided as something like a low-risk device, low-risk medical device or software. So Class B is a typical example where analysis of data can predict how the treatment is progressing. Can be a Class B device, a Class B software. A software or an intelligent software which analyzes a cytology or a pathology result. An AI-based software which can look at the histopathology, where the decision making is involved, and that this decision making also would affect the patient's treatment protocol, is something where it is classified as a Class C device, because the decision from the software is essentially going to decide the treatment protocols. It's classified as a Class C. And a typical example, I'm just giving some example of a Class D device, where, like in the case of an interventional cardiology, where you're looking at a software which intelligently estimate the percentage of blocks in an angiography. So the software or the intelligence that is used for estimating the blockage or the percentage of blockage can fall into a Class D or a high-risk device, which essentially means that it's an invasive procedure, and the software makes a decision which also is deciding the criticality of the outcome. So that falls as a Class D device. These are just examples, and it's the regulatory body, end of the day, that decides where the application would fit in. Now, a quick overview about the clinical trials. So after going through some of the compliances validations, and most likely the preclinical validations possible, preclinical trials possible, the candidate or the application gets into a phase of clinical trial. So the whole purpose is to ensure the efficacy and safety of the device. Then we need to, if possible, we need to do preclinical models. There are also a lot of activities on chip applications, in silico models, where the preclinical models can be replaced with the help of an organoid on chip or on chip platform, where we could look at an in silico model for decisions involving preclinical testing. So some of these are in the early stage of research, but as per the current protocols, and most of the Europe are really switching from no more preclinical trials, and most of the trials would happen in silico models or digital twin models of the case. So now coming to the outcome, whatever data comes from the clinical trials, whether there is a predicate device involved, or we would set up the outcomes. What are the outcomes? What are the desirable outcomes with the specifications of the device, and whether the efficacy is maintained, the safety is maintained, so that it can clear the clinical trial. So there are multiple phases of clinical trials, where we have controlled trials, randomized, double-blinded randomized clinical trials, where we have to purely test the outcome of the device against all non-variables. And finally, there is always a question of all the devices clinically trialed, licensed, and test licensed. Are these really effective? Are these really adopted into the general procurement scheme or general practices? So there is a lot of debate on it. And if you look at internationally, say NHS UK or NIH in US, I've been looking at